pioneer, Vietnam is reiterating its commitment to preserving its cultural heritage and contributing more to UNESCO, said Mr. Ngọc.
Là một sự kiện rất là quan trọng. Nó nằm trong chuỗi các cái sự kiện của chúng ta để trước hết.
This is one of the important events to reaffirm our respect for cooperation with UNESCO and to promote our policy on preserving heritages around the world. It delivers the message. Vietnam is an active member and will make important contributions to UNESCO.
Sing Thu, UNESCO Deputy Director General, said that the event helped promote the diversity of Vietnam's intangible cultural heritage to the world. Technology giant FPT has acquired U.S. engineering services company Cardinal Peak, its third acquisition in that market this year. FPT expects the investment to double its revenue from product engineering services, which include hardware and software development in the Americas in the next 2 years. The Colorado state-based Cardinal Peak has 100 engineers in the U.S. Earlier this year, FPT has acquired the IT services division of tech firm Intertech International and stakes in Landing AI, a leading computer vision and AI software company in the U.S. It has committed to investing $100 million in the Americas this year. The Americas are among FPT's largest overseas markets, and it has 14 offices across the U.S., Canada, and Latin America, including nearshore facilities in Colombia, Costa Rica, and Mexico, and employees in 28 U.S. states and provinces. The Japanese government has conferred the Grand Cordon of the Order of the Rising Sun on Nguyễn Thị Kim Ngân, former chairwoman of Vietnam's National Assembly, in recognition of her significant contributions to the bilateral ties between Japan and Vietnam. Former Vietnamese ambassador to Japan, Đoàn Xuân Hưng, was awarded the Order of the Rising Sun, Gold and Silver Star. The Japanese embassy in Vietnam announced on Monday that these two individuals have been honored to acknowledge their efforts to strengthen the friendship and partnership between the two countries. It is quite rare for foreign individuals to receive this honor from the Japanese government.
You're listening to The Voice of Vietnam and now some more news. Israel gives civilians still trapped inside freshly encircled Gaza City a 4-hour window to leave on Tuesday, and residents escaping said they pressed tanks in position to possibly begin storming it. Israel says its forces have surrounded Gaza City, home to a third of the enclave's 2.3 million people, and are poised to storm it soon in their campaign to annihilate the Hamas Islamists who attacked Israeli towns exactly a month ago. The conflict began on October the 7th, when the fighters burst across the fence surrounding Gaza and killed 1,400 Israelis, mostly civilians, and abducted more than 200, according to Israeli tallies. Since then, Israel has pounded Hamas-run Gaza with strikes, killing more than 10,000 people, around 40% of them children, according to tallies by health officials there. Russia on Tuesday formally withdrew from a landmark security treaty which limited key categories of conventional armed forces, blaming the U.S. for undermining post-Cold War security with the enlargement of the NATO military alliance. The 1990 Treaty on Conventional Armed Forces in Europe, signed a year after the fall of the Berlin Wall, placed verifiable limits on categories of conventional military equipment that NATO and the then Warsaw Pact would deploy. The treaty was designed to prevent either side of the Cold War from amassing forces for a sweep offensive against the other in Europe, but was unpopular in Moscow as it blunted the Soviet Union's advantage in conventional weapons. Russia suspended their participation in the treaty in 2007 and halted active participation in 2015.
Economic pause once again. Vietnam's One Health projects and programs double in 3 years. Vietnamese culture shines at UNESCO, and Israel readies for a Gaza City putsch. And that's the news. current affairs. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is on a visit to China from November the 4th to November the 7th to recover momentum for China-Australia relations after 3 years of conflict over trade, investment, security and politics. Prime Minister Albanese arrived in China last Saturday. He attended the International Import Expo in Shanghai, delivered a speech at the Hongqiang International Economic Forum, and held bilateral meetings with high-ranking leaders of China. This is the first visit of an Australian Prime Minister to China in 7 years, marking the end of 3 years of serious disagreements and moving towards a more stable future. China has been Australia's largest trading partner for more than a decade. Bilateral trade between Australia and China in the last 12 months totaled $303 billion, one-third of Australia's total trade turnover. China is Australia's biggest export market, accounting for almost a third of Australia's total export volume and more than the next 3 biggest markets combined. Over the past 2 decades, Australia's exports to China have grown at an average rate of 17% annually. Australia has always had a trade surplus with a record $100 billion surplus in 2021. Australia was China's 13th largest export market last year and is a supplier of many important minerals such as iron ore, coal and lithium. But bilateral relations became tense in early 2020 when the governments of former Prime Minister Scott Morrison called for an international investigation into the origin of COVID-19 at a time when China was fighting the pandemic. Bilateral relations plummeted after a series of events such as Australia banning China's fourth-way cooperation, cancelling its participation in China's Belt and Road Initiative, and controversies over regional investments and security issues. China then imposed strict restrictions on Australian exports of coal, grain, wine and wood, issued a travel warning to Australia, and suspended all bilateral political exchanges from mid-2021. The Australian government estimates that trade tensions with China have cost Australia about $20 billion per year over the past 2 years. Although there are no statistics, economists say tensions with Australia have also been costly for China because Australia is an extremely important source of input materials for China's steel processing industry and electric car battery production, sectors vital to China's post-pandemic recovery. Leaders of both countries acknowledge the need to quickly improve bilateral relations. Since taking power last May, Prime Minister Albanese has pursued an active dialogue with China based on the principles of cooperation when possible, direct talks when necessary, and not ignoring differences. Since the end of last year, China has also actively pursued contact with Australia at multilateral forums to enhance their bilateral ties. Earlier this year, China removed unofficial bans and restrictions on Australian goods, including coal and dairy. In October, the two sides officially suspended a dispute of the World Trade Organization over China's tariff of up to 218% on Australian wine. Recently, Australia decided not to review a Chinese firm lease at its Darwin port. Following these positive actions, Prime Minister Albanese's visit to China marks an end of 3 years of tension.
We have sought to improve the relationship with China by being patient, calibrated and deliberate, by engaging in a constructive way. The way that you deal and the way that we've improved relations with countries is by having respectful relations with them and respectful discussions with them.
Improved relations with Australia, a major trading partner, will benefit China economically and will also ease tensions with the West and increase stability in the Asia-Pacific. Chinese President Xi Jinping said at the meeting with Prime Minister Albanese on Tuesday.
那一次谈得很好，我们当时都同意两国应该以一种
We both agreed to engage with each other in a more mature way. A healthy and stable China-Australia relationship serves the common interests of our two countries and two peoples. It also meets the common expectation of countries in our region. It is important that we keep improving the comprehensive strategic partnership between our two countries.
Observers say that despite unpredictable changes globally, China and Australia have put aside their disagreements and stabilized their relationship to pursue bigger and long-term goals.